here. So thank you very much, Marc. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
So I wanted you to kind of briefly describe to our viewers what is it that Talencity does that's different comparatively to other recruiting firms and boutique firms?
So our tagline is talent through relationships, but it means a lot more than that. And when we built our business and our business model, we wanted to be different. We didn't want to be an agency that's attached to an office, and we're focused on our internal metrics. We're focused on our clients' end result, and how do they need to hire, and how do they need to build their team, and where are they going. And when they're hiring, it's not just about that one hire, but how are they changing their organization? How is the organization evolving? What sort of talent do they need in their organization as they grow and evolve? And so we really build relationships, understand our clients' short and long-term goals. They often get stuck on what's the hire, what's the bum and seat that I need. However, what are you growing and what are you building? And it's by building the relationships with our clients, they have the trust in us to be able to tell them, hey, this person might not be what you're thinking of today, but you told me that your objective 5 years from now is to drive this in your organization. This person has that skill set or that talent for you. But also work with individuals that might say, this is where I see myself 5 years from now. They're looking at an organization, they're going, that may not be the right fit for me right now. Well, you also have to look of investing in them for your career to be there where you want to be 5 years from now. It's about having a little bit of pain right now, because you're going to get your long-term end result. You're going to have that gain. You're going to build your career to where you need to be. You're going to get the exposure to the different skills. You might not go and doing the job you want to do, but because of the size and agility of that organization, you get that opportunity to do some other things as well.
So when a company is sourcing a new firm or agency, and I mean, it seems like there's so many out there in terms of recruiting firms, but they all have very different pockets that they belong into. Mm-hmm. What do you believe is a potent question that a company should be asking? What do you think would be a good question for them to ask to see if this is going to be a good partner for them?
I'd back up first. I think they need to think internally, what are they looking for in a partner? So every organization is different. So some of them are looking for an agency to improve the pace of their existing recruitment team. So they're going to throw everything that they're working on out to their external recruiters. So they have a broader range, and then they work with their internal recruitment and their agency base. Some are going to be looking at an agency for their most difficult skill sets that they need to hire for. So they're going to go to them for specific niche roles. Others are going to be looking for their recruitment firm to be their talent acquisition team. So they might have a talent acquisition consultant internally, they might have a talent acquisition manager, but their recruitment, their sourcing and their screening of candidates is really done externally. So they have to look at what are their needs and how do they want to interact. Do they want to interact with sending a requirement out to multiple agencies? And so some organizations believe that that's going to get them the best breadth of candidates. And if that's your decision as an organization, that's fine. Or do you want a partner? Do you want a partner that understands your needs and be able to take those needs and go to market with those needs? So once you understand what you want internally, then you have to go and ask that organization of how are you going to bring a value add based on what my need is. So if your need is you're looking at time to fill, how am I going to be able to improve my time to fill? Because that's what's most important. How are you going to be able to work with my hiring managers effectively? What's your experience in this sector, and being able to identify talent that might be directly from school, might be more intermediate skill sets, might be senior level. So you have to understand what your needs are internally, and you have to very specifically ask that agency how they're going to be able to respond to your needs there. It's not about a commodity. It's about you're partnering with other professionals that are going to help you grow your team, and you need to look outside of it, not necessarily as commodity, but looking at how they're going to bring value add to you.
back in the day when I sat in an HR seat, that was sort of my strategy. I didn't like to have a lot of agencies doing a lot of things for me because, as I was saying to Clover earlier today, then we're all competing for the same candidate. I used to lean heavily on niche market agencies, especially for if I had a higher skill that was difficult to find, or like I said to Clover earlier, certain engineers and those types of things. I would lean heavily on my recruiting firms because I firmly believe that, some, not all, have a good pulse on networks, and they have, they have a network of professionals that they can pull from. Very rarely would I use an agency for a general labor position or an administrative position, or even in my own HR team, because those were positions I could fill relatively quickly unless I didn't have time. So, and I don't know an awful lot. I mean, I've read about you on LinkedIn. I've looked at of who you are, and it's funny because I was saying to Clover, one of your recruiters, Jason Crowley, I worked with him way back in the day at GM when I was at the engineering center, and he was with another company. Yeah.
I was at Aerotech then too.
Were you? Because I love Jason. And it was funny because I would lean on Jason a lot because of the type of engineer I was looking for. And at that time it was math-based engineering, and it was really tough to find in Ontario, let alone Canada. But getting back to what I was sort of driving at. So where does your company sort of fit in? Do you do niche recruiting? Do you try to do a blanket? How do you guys operate?
Well, I'd say that originally our focus was engineering and technologies, and really look at advanced technologies. We're not looking at corporate IT departments. What we have found where we've evolved to is within those sectors. So the STEM sectors, we're focusing on supporting clients. We do a broad range of roles across those clients. What we're finding is the clients we're working with, they want a partner. They want a partner that can go to market with them, that's able to articulate their employment brand, that knows who they are, knows how they want to be seen in the market. And they want us to focus on all of their roles. And the world has changed a lot with LinkedIn and online databases and social networking. You used to go to a niche firm because they had this great database. They had the database of all that type of engineer or specific niche area. What I find now, it's about the agency understanding your niche, your business. And there's times I'll go to a client and say, hey, I've never worked on that role before. I don't know that we can work on that. I also look to my clients to open up their organization a bit too. So can you get me on the phone with the director of that team and some people in that group? Because maybe if you're asking us to go after a structural engineer is one of those unique ones where, sometimes you need a structural engineer. Sometimes you need a very niche bridge engineer that has experience with wood and steel or whatever it may be. You want to start to understand what they're looking for as an organization, what their immediate need now is, what their long-term need is. And I think when organizations will open that up, and they'll open up that access to talk to hiring managers, to talk to their employees, because they know you're not a threat, because you're a partner to them. So I think that where we truly play in a niche area where we're focusing on the client, their organization, and their needs. And we focus primarily on professional roles. There have been times where clients said, hey, can you fill this non-professional, non-technical role for us because we really need help. We'll help them out. But I'd say 95% of the business we do are technical professional roles.
Or do you believe really a partnership does the best job in terms of finding the talent they're looking for?
Truly, I believe having that partnership does deliver the best results. But we'll put it on it that your agency is your agency. You're hiring them. If they let go of that relationship, shame on them. But I also think you, as an organization, should feel very comfortable to say, I haven't heard from you in a while. Have there been challenges working on our roles? I think it is a two-way street, and not necessarily about reaching out, but understanding how the agency is bending to work within the organization and being flexible and work within their needs, but also understanding the best recruiters in the market are not making a salary, they're commission. And they're going to be looking at getting the best candidates in the roles. And some organizations, their process can be painful. And they know that. And they'll say that a lot of the time. But when you give them feedback and you have dialogue with them to improve things, then you've got a true partnership. It's a two-way street. You're listening to each other. You're trying to make a great relationship. You're both in business. One, the agency, your main business is recruitment services. The other organization, they could be engineering services or manufacturing, whatever it may be. You're both in business. So you essentially both have end results to sell your products. And the side of it is, if you're selling a car to somebody, you're looking for feedback. You're finding out what their needs are. You're going to be flexible for them. You're going to ask them to be flexible for you. If you want this feature, you're not going to get this. It's having that two-way dialogue. And I find many times that a lot of organizations look at the cost of recruiting firm and they say, hey, I'm paying a lot of money. I want to get exactly what I need. But the other side of it is, you're paying a lot of money. You're spending a lot of money on acquiring talent. Spend that time and invest that time into building a relationship with your agency to make sure that you're getting the most out of them, because they can provide a lot greater value for you. It's about building that relationship and understand what that value is needed on both sides.
Why go boutique and niche? And I know that Tracy kind of suggested why she does it, but why would any other company do that?
Well,
what's the benefit of niche, I guess is what I mean.
The benefit of niche is your relationship is people. You have a relationship with that organization that you're working with. And when you start to work with the smaller agencies, the smaller players, their focus on metrics is very different. They have smaller clients, they have smaller volume. They're looking to really build a relationship with you. And it's just the same reason of why do you go to a big box store to get certain things? And why do you go to that shop on Main Street right now? And there's reasons for that. You support local, you build a great business model with them. Think of that shop be going all the time that you're asking for something, they're going to source that product for you. It's the same sort of thing. A big box store isn't going to do that for you, but you have that relationship with that local shopkeeper. It's the same sort of thing with working with niche, is you're building a relationship with them. They're getting to know you at a completely different level. And you're building your business, and you have someone that's helping you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because to be honest, when I did that, I utilized those players more as an extension of my HR team, or more as an extension of my recruiting team. Because if we had a specific job, they really were, like, for example, Jason, I mean, he was in my office all the time. We were talking all the time. He was an extension of who I was in a recruiting capacity. Whereas I have found over the years, just me, when I did the bigger box store ones, I felt sometimes I was just a number and I would get forgotten. If I had a harder role for them, maybe something that wasn't in their wheelhouse, they would have a harder time finding it. And instead of just saying what you said, this is going to be tougher for me, I need to know more, or it's not something I'm comfortable with, they would take it and overpromise and underdeliver. And I'm not painting them all like that, because they're not all like that, but that was sort of my experience. So I would prefer to work with a smaller firm that was really focused in on the position. But I do have a question, because you said something, and I kind of find it interesting, and maybe I misheard or not. When you have a recruiter in a firm, such as yourself, and what's the difference between having somebody as a recruiter in terms of efficiency or effectiveness or success, if they're commission based versus if you take that commission away and they're just salary based? Is there a difference in that recruiter?
I find there is. I find they're really driven to find talent for that role. And I find when you look at salary based recruiters, they're looking to hit their metrics. They're looking to, what do they need to do to keep their job? Now, when you have someone that's commissioned, you're giving them that upward incentive. And I've seen both sides of it. And I've been in organizations where I've seen salary-based recruiters. And there's a real reason for that. Primarily kind of it's that big box concept where you're churning out volume. You're looking at organizations that need, 50 of this or 10 of this or 30 of this, and you're really processing rules, and that's what your job is. You're fulfilling a certain step in the process. That completely makes sense. When you're going to a niche recruiter and you're going to them and you're paying a percent fee based on someone's salary, that recruiter who's commissioned, what they're going to do is they're going to spend a lot of time going to search the market for the best candidate for you. They're not going to stop at just giving you one candidate, but they're also going to give you the best candidate. And sometimes that may be one, or sometimes it might be bouncing a couple off you to get their opinion, because they're really driven to close that role and that opportunity. And when organizations also don't deliver on their commitment, because it is contingency based a lot of the time, it gets really frustrating for that commission-based recruiter. When you're upfront, when you're honest, when you're having great conversations with a commission-based recruiter and telling them, I've sent this out to 3 agencies, I've got one candidate internally that we really like, we're not too sure about moving forward with this candidate. Let's tell you a bit about them so you know what the baseline is. And now this is why I'm coming to you to find me candidates, and this is what I need. When you're upfront with a commission-based recruiter, or any recruiter in general, about that, that's where that recruiter is going to do everything they can to get to that best candidate, because they're hungry. They want to close that opportunity. They're in charge of their paycheck, and the best recruiters out there are commission-based, and you'll find that. But it's a matter of, does that fit for your organization? How are you willing to work with a recruiter too?
So this is going to take us very far back, really back in time for you, actually. I want to go back into the history of Marc Bardwell here. Forward. Sure. What got you in this field, and why are you still here?
It's interesting. I was in retail management out of university, and I was working with a Gap, and the one thing I loved more than anything was hiring people. And when I left retail, I decided I didn't want to do the evenings and weekends and holiday seasons and that again. It was time for something different, and I really wanted to target in recruitment. And I joined Aerotech and started my career there as a recruiting in the nuclear sector, and for automotive as well, primarily GM and OPG. And just loved it. And I've stayed in that. I was there for 7 years, and I just love helping people build careers and helping companies build their organizations. And it's a really unique world of, working with people every single day of my life. And it's either great people that we're finding work, or great companies that we're helping them build their teams and their organizations. And I look back and run into people all the time that I've placed over my career, or I've helped them find people to build their teams. And it really, it makes a difference. We know you've had an impact there. And, I've loved what I've done. And I love teaching people now of how to recruit and how to find great talent for great companies and to really make a difference.
Absolutely. Which actually, that kind of brings me to the next project that we're talking about right now, COVID-19 recruitment. This is a huge project you've taken on. Tell me what inspired you to start this, Marc? What was it that went, you know what, I need to do something? So in a nutshell, COVID-19 Recruitment is a team of volunteers recruiting for long-term care homes in Ontario right now, which is absolutely phenomenal. They are massively in need of some support. So it's just a huge mission you've undertaken. So what really inspired this?
There are a few different factors in play. I'd say at a very personal level, my partner is a physician at the hospital in Ajax, and I see him going to work every day and deal with COVID patients, works in long-term care home as well. And, I see that impact and, how it's changed our life at home and, his career as well. And so I really wanted to find a way to make a difference and didn't know what that was going to be. And probably about 6 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a former colleague. Actually, we go back to the Aerotech days, from Aerotech, and basically proposed to me that I was well connected in the industry. There was a lot of opportunity to help long-term care homes. And there's a lot of recruiters right now that aren't super busy because a lot of companies aren't hiring right now. So what were my thoughts on building a volunteer effort to recruit for long-term care homes? And from that conversation, some bells went off, started talking to some different people, and it completely made sense. So that was my driver. And from there, we've now built a team of over 100 volunteers and helping a bunch of homes across Ontario, and gotten some great support from some industry partners too. And, I think we've made a very clear mandate. No one should spend more than 10 hours a week in volunteering on it. I'd be lying if I'd say that wasn't the case at first for me. But we're really trying to build a network of recruitment professionals that's helping. And I think we're really making a difference.
That's really cool. So what do you think in terms of COVID-19 recruitment right now? What's going really well for you guys in terms of the actual recruiting efforts? And what do you think, what do you hope? Do you think you could use more volunteers? Like, tell me a little bit about the scenario right now.
Yeah, well, I think we've compartmentalized what we're doing. So we have a sourcing team, which is the majority of our volunteers. We have as soon as a candidate gets their resume into our system, we have a screening team that'll reach out to them and screen them. We have a team that's, as long-term care homes identify new needs, new opportunities. We have a team that's job posting in the markets. And then we have a great digital marketing team that's trying to get the message out there for us as well. So when I look at all of that as a whole, we're continuing to build our sourcing team. And that's the number one effort right now. I think the message is out there. Actually, I was getting out of my car earlier today and I was listening to a commercial for ontario.ca/LTC to talk about LTC jobs in the province of Ontario. There's a lot of methods out there to find work if you hear about the message. The people we're trying to approach right now in the market are people who maybe aren't hearing those ads or aren't thinking, hey, I could do that job, or how do I do it, or how do we place them in not just how do you go into a system, but how can we connect with people to place them. So the goal of our sourcers, continuing to drive that, whether it's great candidates that are applying, which we need lots more of, great volunteers who are helping to source candidates throughout their own networks and others, and also long-term care homes. We're supporting a bunch of long-term care homes across the province. We're probably supporting about 15 to 20% of homes across the province. We're more than happy to support all of them across the province. It's a matter of finding people. It's really tough, but it's always nice to see when we get a bunch of candidates that apply to the jobs overnight, and we get them screened, and we start to get a string of acceptances from long-term care homes. So it's great to see right now.
Not to cut you off, but because I think it's such a great initiative. But in terms of continuity, because it's obviously not going to be a need that's going to go away overnight, clearly with all of the things that we're hearing. So are you planning to continue this effort sort of post whatever COVID-19 brings? Is this something that you're going to be invested in long term, or are you looking to sort of bolster in the short term? And then, because people, and I don't mean this rudely, but your recruiters are going to get busy again, and
yeah,
are you going to have this as an arm of what you're doing, or what's the future look like?
Truthfully, I don't know. I'll say that the main effort was to bolster the support right now. There's an urgent need, there's a critical need, there's an opportunity to help long-term care homes. The biggest challenge that we see in the market right now, though, is long-term care homes traditionally don't have to recruit in the volume that they're recruiting right now. So, the conversation we're starting to have right now is, as the huge need wanes a bit, what is our ability to provide ongoing long-term support for long-term care homes, or how could this go on an ongoing basis as people start to get busy, because that the markets, people are starting to go back to work, and people hopefully are going to start hiring really soon again, and our recruiters are going to start to get busy again. Absolutely, we see that. We've got 100 and some odd volunteers right now. Their time that they have to commit is going to get less and less every week right now, which is good. It's great for our economy to see it picking back up. So we'll look at some changes, and we're currently discussing them. I'd like to have a ongoing support or portal or method to help long-term care homes, because I know they really need help right now. And it's not just about helping the long-term care homes. It's about the people that are in long-term care homes. Those are our parents and grandparents. Right. I want to make sure they get the best care out there. And we know we have an underfunded model right now. It's a fact in Ontario. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge in what we live in right now. But helping as best as we possibly can, and it's our way to put that. Doug Ford says that iron ring around the most vulnerable right now, and if we can be part of it, we'll help, and then we'll see if we can kind of take what we've done and change it a bit and modify it to help long-term too.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, one of my old HR generalists has moved into a long-term care home in the area, well, area-ish. And she contacted me, I don't know, Clover, it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, before all of this started anyways. And one of the struggles she was seeing, so this is what I'm wondering if it's going to be something that's going to post-date this, was a high turnover within her industry because of, sometimes it's low pay or whatever the case may be for personal support workers. So she had reached out to me to say, because we used to work together, say, I'm having this problem. Is this something that, you can kind of help with? So unless there's significant changes, in my opinion, within that whole industry, I think this is going to be something that's going to continue. So what you're doing, in my opinion, you're starting to build some awareness. I'm assuming you're going to start getting a candidate base. So it'd be great if, sort of post all of this emergency trying to fill all these jobs, if we could help, sort of bolster those communities on an ongoing basis. Because I'm not so sure they're going to see retention all of a sudden just go so great that they don't ever have to worry about trying to continually, recruit for personal support workers and support staff.
Agreed 100%. Yeah, no. So it is a longer term challenge we have in our long-term care homes across Ontario. And it's a tough question, because, and I've seen some in that recent announcements that they're looking at a full investigation into our long-term care home model in the province. It's time. It's time to look at who is a patient support or personal support worker, and what do we pay them? What's the role? What's the value they add? And how do we compensate them accordingly? I think it's CERB has opened up people's eyes to talk about what is a minimum wage, and what should we be paying people? What is a living wage? And when you look at people who are contemplating a $14 an hour job or getting CERB, and they qualify for CERB right now, there's no motivator for them to go outside of the home. Now, PSWs do pay more than $14 an hour. I think there has been some progress in that, but it's about providing long-term job security, about giving them full-time jobs with benefits. It's giving them seniority. I think that's been some of the greatest challenges. The reason that long-term care homes became the greatest need is the provincial government made a decision that you can only work in one long-term care home and no other healthcare facilities. That's a challenge when you look at the amount of workers that work across facilities. Why can't organizations just choose to hire full-time? And what would that look like? And I get it. There's a need for part-time, casual people on your team, but these are people who work in 3 different homes so they can get a full-time job, and they can get full-time hours. They can get that guarantee. And the question is, why can't, though there's probably 3 people that do that same thing, work in multiple homes, why can't they work full-time in one home? I think you're going to start to see that change, and you're going to get more job stability for some of the key roles in our long-term care homes as they start looking at that whole industry as a whole.
You can see it in your face, Marc. When you talk about this, your eyes go huge because you can tell you love the challenge of this. And only a niche market recruiting firm is going to have that reaction. There's so many other people that are like, oh, whoa, what are you doing? I can't believe you're going to try this. It's mission impossible. Not for Marc Bardwell, folks. He's gotten really excited and he sees a really good challenge here. That's what I can see big time. The other thing I wonder too, for volunteers to help sourcing, do they have to have knowledge of the healthcare industry? Do they have to be niche recruiters themselves? In terms of the volunteers out there or recruiters out there that can assist, maybe they don't know a thing about healthcare. Do you think they still would be able to assist?
Absolutely. There's 8 key roles we support across long-term care homes. That pretty much covers all of their needs. And there's very specific certifications, very specific requirements. Some of them are not very complicated. It's, in many cases, it's someone who's got compassion. They are willing to go into a COVID-19 positive home with personal protective equipment and they're willing to help out. And in many cases, there's a role for them. So the opportunity here, it's not about just niche recruiters. It's about recruiters that know how to talk to people, how to build relationships, how to approach their network, to be assertive with their network and say, hey, I have an opportunity. This is what I'm looking for. I need housekeepers. We need cooks. We need dietary aides. We need resident support assistants. Those are all non-registered roles. Those, the cook, we want to see people that have a red seal. We're looking for activity assistants. We're looking for PSWs, RNs, RPNs. Those are registered roles, but we're looking for people that have those registrations. Also looking at people who are currently in nursing school. So who do you know that's got, maybe you have a good friend that's got a daughter that's in nursing school or a son that's in nursing school. Those are people that can do these jobs. The one thing the province of Ontario has recognized is a current nursing student that's completed first year of nursing school has the equivalent certification of a PSW in the province of Ontario. So they'll allow them to work in the role of a PSW. So we've got people who are willing to work in these homes that meet the basic credentials. They've got some flexibility. They're not working in other healthcare facilities. Those are people we're talking to right now. It's interesting. A lot of our volunteers have said, I might consider working in home too. And there's been some of them that have taken jobs working in home. So it's based on what the need is as they explore it. So no, they don't need to be niche. They can be, have some sourcing experience. We're ideally looking for, especially on our screeners team, at least 3 years experience. So they at least understand what they're looking for in the screening candidates. For our sourcing team, look for people that have some recruitment experience or some interest in sourcing candidates for these homes and helping out.
That's fantastic. That is amazing. So like, that's just such a really cool thing. And we have no idea when you're going to finish this. So I think we'll be watching closely by to see just how many positions you can fill and how many different homes you can actually assist on this. 15 to 20% in all of Ontario. That's a large number.
Yeah, I'd like to see more because there's lots of need and lots of support needed out there. We want to help wherever we can.
Yeah. And to our viewers, we'll add the information at the end of the video here so that you're aware of how to get in contact with COVID-19 Recruitment and also get in contact with Talencity as well. So we'll leave that information if you're looking for a job or if you're looking to volunteer, or if you just want to know as an employer what Talencity is all about and how you can get in contact with this lovely gentleman right here, Marc Bardwell. Okay.
Thanks, Clover.
No problem. Marc, I really appreciate you taking the time to, speak to our audience and, let us know a little bit more about you and about what you're doing. And it really helps others that are going to be future looking for recruiting firms. I know it's a bit of a weird time right now, but the one thing that I can say solidly, no matter what, is that you will always, always, always need recruiting agencies, recruiting firms, assistants, depending on what kind of job role you're looking for. It's an industry that will never go away, folks, and they have the relationships intact. And what I love about Talencity myself, and sorry, maybe I'm going to be a little gushy here, but what I've always enjoyed was the relationships you guys do host. You do embody that 100%. Knowing just a few people that have worked through it with you, to me, it really embodies that idea of that, human to human contact and making sure that you have a good relationship and foundational understanding of each other, which I think is phenomenal. So kudos to you, because to wrangle all these human beings to do the same messaging is pretty amazing. Your employer branding. We'll get into that another day, folks.
Thanks, Clover.
No problem. Thank you for joining us today. We'll let you get on in your day. And is there anything that you want our viewers to know?
I think everyone needs to stay positive right now. There's a lot of change going on in this world right now, and we need to stay positive. We need to push through one day at a time, but there's lots of opportunity out there. There's lots of companies that are going to need lots of help. And in the meantime, if you want to help out COVID-19 recruitment, absolutely volunteer, apply to a home, let us know. But if you're looking to hire great talent, let's have a conversation with Talencity, and we'll take it from there. Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day, Marc.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Thanks.